r/ask Reddit. What do you strongly suspect but have no proof of? That my English teacher didn't read essays and based grades on how we were in class. I know this for a fact about my freshman English teacher. I put "Are you reading this?" in the middle of a paper. She did not mark it or ever comment on it. Once, in a science lab report I put "include later," intending to come back and finish that section last. I forgot to. When I got it back graded, the teacher had circled it and written, "How much later?" My English class had motion activated lights. It was so ducking boring in there that the lights would often go out. Our teacher would say in a monotone voice, "Move your arms around to activate the lights." This sounds like some dystopic movie. Drink a verification can to continue. Dentists ask you questions with all that stuff in your mouth because they think it's funny to watch you struggle. Source: my dad is a dentist. Some zoos have empty exhibits and just claim the animal isn't there. You just never see them. Somewhat unrelated, I was just thinking how cool a nocturnal zoo would be. Only open at night and they specialize in species that only are awake at night. That'd be sweet. Probably no business but cool nonetheless. Check out Singapore's night safari. That only about 20% of people actually do any work. The rest just get by looking busy. I'd say 80% of people work just 20% of their work hours. This is an actual problem that large corporations face. It is known as Price's Law, which states that the square root of the number of people in a domain do 50% of the work, so with 10 workers 3 do 50% of the work, which is acceptable. But a larger company of 100 workers only 10 do 50% of the work, and so on and so forth. When you think about it, it seems absurd but true in the same time. Sometimes other people actually do want to contribute, but they're just not competent or efficient enough. Similar to how we can read private letters of people from 1700s. The issue is that digital records are by no means permanent. Sure, but I'd be amazed if Google, Apple, FB, etc. don't have extensive data on me and every other user. Messages, photos, videos, links. Everyone I know who works at these places know that it's all sitting on a server somewhere. Cornhole is a conspiracy by the insurance industry because they feel horseshoes is too dangerous. This is the kind of low stakes conspiracy I could get into. More like no stakes, since horseshoes is the one you actually have to shove something in the ground for. That the ginger ale at this diner I go to every day is just Coke and Sprite mixed together. It is actually not unheard of for ginger ale to be swapped out for the Coke Sprite combo. They are just counting on you not noticing. Source: used to work in the service industry. Oh what? How could you not notice that? I feel like I'd notice every time. But maybe I've already been fooled. I've done commercial DNA testing, so I'm on the lookout for someone to turn up as a sibling match to my mom someday. The only other explanation for my grandma suddenly leaving town would be if her parents didn't approve her relationship with my grandpa. But from everything I know of them, they were perfectly fine with their 13-year-old daughter dating a guy in his 20s. It's capable of building a profile on all of us. According to our AI generated profile, you like eating ass. I didn't say it reached correct conclusions. Despite having no proof of this, I am 100% confident I am onto them. Someone was repeatedly breaking my BJJ gym's windows. My gym being heavily populated by cops and pies set up surveillance and caught the window repair guy doing it. My pa grew up in Brooklyn in the 60s and on up. For a few months every Saturday night there was a handful of car windows smashed. Guess what? Only one car window repair shop open on Sunday. Dun dun dun. They staked out neighborhoods around the shop that was open. As you guessed, the genius owner was going around with a slingshot shooting out people's windows on Saturday nights to drum up business. One time my boy told CPS that when he talks bad about the boyfriend, mom hits him. But still nothing happened. After that point they stopped telling me things. Which in my opinion means that they are just afraid of being hit by mom for telling me things about the boyfriend. This is one of those scenarios. As sketchy as it may seem, a stuffed animal nanny cam could come in handy in their room. Just in the off chance that something could be caught on camera. That I have some crazy rare unknown disease, and anytime I go to the doctor they say everything's fine even though I haven't felt the same for 6 months. That my 5-month-old knows exactly when I'm about to fall asleep and starts crying just to duck with me. There is no louder, more upsetting noise to a baby than the sound of a parent's head hitting a pillow. That's why you gotta sleep on the floor twice a week to throw him off. Never let the enemy know your next move. There's a theory out there that babies who cry had an evolutionary advantage over those who didn't because the crying exhaustion would prevent the parents from ducking and making new babies who would become competition for first babies' resources. We can't approve your claim due to the use of improper third-party equipment. Nice thinking. That a lot of businesses in my hometown are just money laundering operations. 25 nail salons in a town of 70,000, 3,000 square foot DVD rental shop in the best block of downtown where commercial rents are very high, dozens of $10 barber shops sitting empty all day but remaining open, red flags all around. Toddler pageants are just dog whistles for pedophile rings to operate in the background. I wish I had stayed ignorant to this idea for the rest of my life. Arguments about objectification, which are also pretty big with me, aside, there is no way in hell I could sleep knowing she's around creepy creepers. Someone has programmed thousands of bots to only upvote the Reddit posts questions they choose, thus manipulating the Reddit mob's direction and narrative. To what end? I don't know. The Kardashians usually wear solid colored clothing because it's easier for them to Photoshop. Excellent observation. I have no proof, just the insurance policy and my mom's dreams. 2 years after divorce, he cancelled policy. I didn't know you could get insurance on someone without them knowing. A neighbor of mine was in a similar situation. She met a man online who was from a different country. They started an online relationship, and when he came out to visit her in person for the first time, he proposed. They got married shortly after. He was also abusive and insisted on her getting a $1 million life insurance policy. When she talked to an attorney about divorcing him, the attorney told her she needed to cancel the life insurance and make sure he knew that she had cancelled it for her own safety. They got divorced and he married someone else almost immediately. The attorney made it sound like this sort of behavior is not unusual from abusive partners. Jeffrey Epstein was murdered coerced into suicide. I agree with you. He was it, to protect other prominent people and their pedophilia. Unfortunately, he died 2 years ago, so I'll probably never know what he really did. If we invented something for immortality, she likely took it already. So did Betty White then. That Apple invented the AirPod meme. I think most companies invent memes about their products in order to sell more. I think my great-great-uncle was gay, but lived in a time where he had to hide that part of himself. He never had a wife or kids. He traveled a lot and was very into art. I asked my grandma a while back if she thought he was gay and she said he just wasn't interested in having girlfriends. That's a funny way for your grandma to tell you he was gay. Prince Charles will never sit on the throne. I believe he made a deal with Queen Elizabeth that in exchange for being allowed to marry Camilla he gave up his right to sit on the throne. Prince William will sit on the throne when Queen Elizabeth dies. If Queen Elizabeth dies, every time someone says God save the Queen, she gets 5 extra minutes. My phone isn't really at 100% when it tells me it is. Bigfoot is actually a cultural memory from humans who migrated from Asia, and that's why there are stories about Yeti and Sasquatch. The actual creature though died out tens of thousands of years ago. And stories of trolls may have originated from a time when humans and Neanderthals coexisted. I believe my grandmother was a serial killer. She was married 7 times, each ending in a sudden death. She died in the 1980s, but everything is still suspicious and no one seems to know anything. I did find an article about her when she came to the US where her first husband died defending her after her ex-boyfriend climbed in her window in New York City. I also found evidence of her having been in prison before coming to the US. This makes me appreciate my grandma. The Statue of Liberty switches hands when nobody is looking. And if anyone is looking, she just flashes her Neuralizer. Mattress stores are a money laundering scheme. No one buys that many mattresses. If it wasn't a money laundering scheme, then how the duck are they in business? Especially Mattress Firm. There are multiple intersections within 20 square miles of where I live that have 3 stores on different corners of the same intersection. There is some evidence out there to support this theory, but it's all sketchy AF. Despite his song, Sir Mix-a-Lot actually prefers women who are independent, educated, and can carry on a conversation. That your phone and laptop mics are hot and sending data to certain groups. That's not what you say in your sleep. My dog may not have gone to live on a farm, but my parents have never given a clear explanation of this. That there is something seriously wrong with me and people aren't telling me about it. I feel I have some sort of serious mental disability, personality disorder, or even some slight retardation and no one will acknowledge it or admit it to me. It's remarkable how many posts' top comments are just old posts' top comments. I work for a call center for the marketplace in the US. There was no interview, barely any training, super high turnover and super low morale. None of their decisions make sense. The entire operation almost feels like it's trying to work as poorly as possible so everyone hates it. That some Canadian guy who owns an antique shop that I bought a camera from in April recognized me. He acted flustered when I came in and I came back the next day to make my purchase. He sold me the camera for what I thought was a reasonable price and threw in an owner's manual in near perfect condition. A quick Google search reveals that it's an extremely rare camera that was only produced for 2 years. 1 out of 1,000 still in existence or operational and 1 out of every 1,000 working ones still has a certain part. Mine does. This guy's whole shop was based around antique cameras and my dad talked shop with him for a while and he even explained to me how to find film or modify some for my camera. He knew what he was selling me and lost a lot of money on the transaction. I even got it appraised to confirm my suspicions about what it was. He's a time traveler and you're destined to take a very important picture with that specific camera. There are frequent commenters whose profiles have a basic name, no friends, random intonation friends, basic profile information and only one profile picture who will make some outlandish comment that starts a war. More than half of people who buy expensive luxury cars, BMWs, Audi, etc., can't actually afford them. They're just trying to hold an image that they are rich. That a relative is a CIA agent. She was in the Peace Corps, Vietnam era, ever since she's been a world traveler, somehow able to drop her work and go hiking the Spanish version of the Appalachian Trail or otherwise go to exotic locales. Sometimes she came back with injuries. I fell as we were climbing some rocks. Her son is in the agency as an employee, not a spy, and he's married to a CIA translator. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.